yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. You can open your siddurim if you don't have one. They're on the wall over there to page 128. Shabbat shalom. How beautiful is this day? The third chant down the page, Yedid Nefesh. Let's join together if you can. Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman, Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman, Meshach Avdecha, El Retzonecha, Meshach Avdecha, la da 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 da, El Retzonecha, Yarut Avdecha, Kemoyel, Yishtachave Laidai, la da 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 da, El Muhadarecha, Yarut Avdecha, Kemoyel, Yishtachave Laidai, la da 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 da, El Muhadarecha. We welcome the Shabbat with song. Welcome to all of you. I'm so glad you're here because I came a long way to be here, or not that long, I guess, but I'm from Qualicum Beach these days. But I was invited back to be on the Bima again, which is a very lovely opportunity. So if you don't know me, I was Cantor Naomi, but Cantor Emerita now, soloist. And Rabbi Dan is at Camp Kalsman with a bunch of kids having a really fun Shabbat, I hope. Rabbi Brown is in Israel, so that's pretty awesome. And Cantor Cohen is on a very delayed, can you believe this, her honeymoon. She was married already a few years ago, but due to COVID and a variety of other things, starting a new job perhaps, she has finally been able to get away with her wife and they're traveling. So good for them. And I'm thrilled I could be here. It's been a bit of a harrowing time for my family too. We've had a loss in the last week, so I am very grateful to be here with community and so grateful that you're all here. We can be together. So turn to page 142. We'll sing Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to the angels who will take us through this next 26 hours of Shabbat with a little extra safety and security. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turn back in your siddurim to page 121 as we prepare to light the Shabbat candles. And I'd love to ask Linda Arado to come and bless and light the Shabbat candles. Here, what am I? I'm going to share it with you.
All right, so As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. We'll turn forward to Lecha Dodi, which is on page 138. We'll be singing together verses 1, 2, 3, 5, and 9. And thank you for catching that. Thanks. Yeah, those candles are a little tricky on yes. A little extra love. I'm wondering if I'm going to get in there.
Yeah, that's it.
I will burn my fingers.
I always do that at home first before because there we go.
Good job. All right. All right, again, Lecha Dodi, page 138. Lecha Dodi, Dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad ushmo echad l'shemol tiferet v'letehila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla likrat Shabbat lechu v'neocha ki hi mekor haberacha mirosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machsheva techila lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla Mikdash melech hir melucha kumitzehi mitoch hafecha rav lach shevet be'emek habacha v'hu yachamol aleichem la lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. Verse 5. Hitoreri, kiva orech, kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kavod Adonai, alayich nigla, lecha dodi, likrat Shabbat, lecha ne Shabbat nekabla. Boi v'shalom teret bala, kam besimcha uv'tzala, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabla. You can remain standing, face forward, and we just welcomed the Shabbat into the room through the same doors that we entered. Look, more Shabbat coming in the room. Hi, Sandy. And we continue on page 263. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba ve'alma divrachute ve'amlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, vehimeru, amen. Yeheshme rabba mevarach, le'alam olam me'amayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemed kudasha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamiram ve'alma ve'imeru. Amen. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Baruch leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai Baruch leolam vaed. Please be seated. So we've now entered that main body of an evening service that could happen on every night of the week. But there are a few extra little blessings and bonuses for being Shabbat. So lovely again to be here with you. We're going to continue with a prayer for the fall of evening on page 265, Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim b'chochma poteach she'arim uvidvuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or umavir yom umevi layla umavdil bein yom uvein layla Adonai tzavaot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 266, Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu Meshoch beinu uvkumeinu Nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Leolam leolam va'ed Ki hem chayenu ve'yorech yameinu Uvahem nehege yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed 268 Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele Asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam Beshivtecha beveitecha uvelechtecha vaderech ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמת. And turning to page 270, a song of redemption, Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha Belim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Nedar B'Kodesh, Nora Tehilot O Seifele, Nora Tehilot O Seifele, Machutecha Rahu Vanecha, Bokei Hayam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. V'nemar kifed Adonai et Yaakov, Ugelo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. On page 271, we find the prayer Hashkivenu, a prayer for giving us a place to rest, shelter in hard times and in darkness and in scary times. And when I knew I was coming back to share the Shabbat with you, and I was told, oh, it's a trip down memory lane, we're going back to the old tunes, because I don't know all the new tunes, to be honest. So these are like my tunes, or the tunes I know, not really the old ones. But for some of you, I thought, oh, there'll be all these familiar faces, and we'll be going down. But some of you are new faces to me, and you may not even know what the old tunes are. But for those who do, we used to do a Hashkivenu that was Craig Taubman's Hashkivenu, and though I love changing up the prayers and having new tunes, I wanted to go back to this older tune, for me, an older one. Even in my day, there was an older and a newer. Because of the words in the middle, if you look to the English, so it starts with give us a place to rest, but a few lines down it says, watch over us as we go forth, prepare for us as we return. And as I was looking at those words earlier, again, just sort of filtering through what was I going to be chanting, I thought that Taubman's Hashkivenu goes to those words within the melody and not in other versions. But those words seem to touch me especially today, because it's been a hard time recently, just loss of a very beloved family member and a lot of family chaos that ensued. And so for me, I was thinking how that feeling of watching over, I want to be really careful with the words, but watching over as we go forth. So as I step out into all of that, I love that feeling of being watched over and watching over each other, and there's so much love in that. But I also like the next part, which is prepare for us as we return. I like that sense of preparation that I think I've taken for granted sometimes. Like you just know you get to go home or you get to return, but that sense that God, or maybe somebody who's been waiting for you and knows what you've been going through, has that little bit of preparation, if it's just an open door or a hug or a meal made or whatever that preparation is, that says, I knew you were coming back. And it's good for me to walk into that space. I thought we can sort of share being in that space together. So Hashkivenu, again, page 271. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzedekenu beteinu uvoenu lechaim ulshalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Page 272, words from Torah, V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, and the people of Israel have guarded and kept the Sabbath. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. Yam bada bim bam bai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam bada bim bam bai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam bada bim bam bai, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash. Yam bada bim bam bai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam bada bim bam bai, Shabbat, Shabbat, yam bada bim bam bai, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. We'll rise for Hatfilah, for the Amidah, the standing prayer, the central body of prayer in the service, starting on 273 with a brief prayer and then on to 274. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel chasadim tovim v'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, lema'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'mhagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham be'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, mechayei metim atah, rav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechayei metim berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishnei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidal melach, melech memid umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lahachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hametim. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yalalucha sela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. Page 279. one of my favorite prayers of gratitude. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehi l'ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Korav Penei Elavadecha Vechoneinu Shefoch Ruchacha Aleinu V'techezena Eineinu V'shuvecha leTzion V'rachamim Baruch atah Adonai HaMachazir Shechinato LeTzion LeTzion LeTzion. On page 280, 4 lines from the bottom of the page, the words Ve'al Nisecha, on all of your miracles. This prayer talks about all the miracles God brings upon us day, morning, afternoon, evening, every part of our life, every step along the way. We can look to blessings and miracles and see them or let them just slip by. It's really within us to acknowledge them, find them, hold on to them, and really feel how very blessed we are. So, Ve'al Nisecha. Ve'al Nisecha Sheb'chol Yom Imanu Ve'al Niflotecha V'tovotecha Me'olam Kivinu Lach Me'olam Kivinu Lach Ve'al Nisecha Sheb'chol Eid Erev Avoker V'tzorayim Me'olam Kivinu Lach Me'olam Kivinu Lach Hatov Kiluchalu Rachamecha Ve'hamrachem Kilu Tamu Chasadecha Me'olam Kivinu Lach Me'olam Kivinu Lach. Shalom Rav, page 282, a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Ki Ata Melech Adon Lecho HaShalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tov Beinecha Levarech Et Amcha Yisrael B'chol Leit V'chol Shah Bishlomecha Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Baruch atah Adonai Hamavarech et amo Yisrael Shalom. Take a few moments for your personal, silent, private prayer. Amen, 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 amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, 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 amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, 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 amen. Amen, amen, amen. Oh, amen, 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 amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. Turn to page 371 as our thoughts now turn to people who are in need of prayers for healing. Knowing that our prayers can only do so much, I've heard Rabbi Dan, and I'm sure others, but I've heard Rabbi Dan say, our prayers can possibly grant 1/60th of the amount of healing that someone may need. 1/60th, that's something. If it gives a person a little ease to know they're being thought of, prayed for, considered, remembered, that prayer is worth so much. So I'm going to read names of those in our community who are on our list for healing, but then also ask you in a moment to share names that you may be wanting to consider as well. Andre Gass, Hazel Hall, Sid Kirsten, Yeshayahu, Glenda Gutman, Dana Becker, Stephanie Stanberg, Sarah Chachi, Yaakov Ben Yosef Batya, Michael Cohen, Reuven Ben Zlota Vanachman, Lynn Kerson, Wendy Selig and Roger Selig, Yaakov Eliezer Ben Kalev Vapala, Natalie Wormley, Yun Kim Godan, Tzemach Ben Menashe Halevi Rikla, Meyer Tzvi, Mert Zalman Ben Rachel, Daniel Gottesman, Bill Shaw, Claire Golumbia, Carla Zivot, Janet Gelb, David Shlomo Gorny, Andrea Yarzabak. If I have it mispronounced and you'd like to rename or stand to name someone I have not yet mentioned, please do.
Irene Kranz.
Thanks. We'll join together in a Mishaberach for healing on page 371 in the middle. Misheberach Avotenu Makor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I don't know if you received the temple happenings, but there's some events coming up, which I will share with you. Even if you have them in writing, you can get more information from here or from our website. So all temple seniors are invited to our next Shloshim Shishim at the Museum of Vancouver on Tuesday, July 25th at 1 p.m. There'll be a guided tour. There is a cost. So call the office or sign up on the website. Our song leader, Annette Kozicki, is doing a Havdalah summer jam sessions on Saturdays, July 29th and August 27th at 7:30. Those have historically been so much fun. So even if you're not a kid or somebody with a kid, feel free to join in. It's very young and fun. Bring your own instrument or get in touch with Annette. Her information's here if you want to ask more about it. As it says, all ages and skill levels are welcome. We're going to be meeting, well, not me, but you guys hopefully, next Shabbat on the beach is on Friday, August 11th at 6 p.m. It's a traditional spot if you've been there before. Details here. It's a bring your own dinner and then a short service at 6:45 on the beach. It's just a lovely, lovely part of summer tradition, and if I lived in Vancouver, I would absolutely be there. So next gen is Schwitzing at Turf is back for round 2 on Thursday, August 31st at 7:30 p.m. It's a yoga class, so this is a younger group, the next generation. I believe it's under 40s, but double check because I could be wrong, but I think it's under 40. Rabbi Dan is leading a kosher catch fishing trip on Sunday, September 3rd to September 6th, and you can still sign up, and it sounds like an absolute blast, but I can't fish, no way. So I won't be there either. And probably I won't be at the next thing either because it's a men's club thing, but it's poker and pastrami, and if I could do anything, I'd be there. That's my gig for sure, but it's a men's club thing. So September 6th at 6:30 p.m. and again, register online, and there is a cost there too. So lots of fun stuff coming up. Anything else that I didn't mention? I'm sure the food bank needs donations. That's always a good one. If Sarah Chachi were sitting here, she'd make sure I said that. So it is such a pleasure to welcome our guest Drash tonight. Aaron Cass is, I haven't seen you for a long time, but I think last time we saw, maybe it was at my home in the island. I don't know, but anyway, welcome, welcome. We're so lucky to have a storyteller in our congregation. So come share with us, please. Oh, you want to be down there? Okay, with the people. I want you to be heard, though. Okay. Maybe we can. Mics, though. Oh, you're mic'd. Yeah. Even better. I was told to give you the mic.
How's the sound from the back?
Yay.
Good? Can you hear me? Speak up. Okay. Testing, how's that? Could be a little higher. I think our sound person, could you, yeah. Okay, is that any better? Hearable? Okay, we're good. Great. Good evening, everyone. So the story I'm going to be telling you is from 13th century France, and it's called The Princess with the Golden Hair. There once was a pious man who was very wealthy. He had only one son, whose name was Yohanan, and Yohanan had a wife who was both beautiful and righteous. In time, the old man took ill, and as he lay on his deathbed, he told his son to always follow the commandments of the Lord and be generous to those in need. Then he whispered, "My son, when the days of mourning for me are over, go to the market and wait for a merchant with something to sell. Buy whatever he offers you and take good care of it." Yohanan promised he would respect his father's wish. Soon after, the old man died, and Yohanan mourned him for 30 days as is prescribed, and then he went to the market. The first thing he saw was a merchant carrying a very handsome silver goblet. He asked for the price and was told it cost 100 pieces of gold. Now this was a very great sum, but he felt compelled to pay it, and he brought the goblet home and put it in a chest. This was no ordinary goblet, for it had a silver cover as well. Yohanan would often take it out and try to open it, but he could not. Then Passover came, and Yohanan said to his wife, "Let us put the goblet on the table in honor of the holiday." And so she retrieved it, and when he tried to open it, the silver lid lifted at once. Inside it was a smaller goblet, also silver, and inside that was a small scorpion asleep. Now, Yohanan and his wife were quite surprised to see it there, and Yohanan said to his frightened wife, "Not in vain did my father commit me to this thing. We must feed it and see what comes of it in the end." And so they did, and it grew until it became too large for the smaller goblet, and they moved it into the larger one. And then it became too large for that goblet, and they had to move it into an even larger container. Then it became too large for the house, and they had to keep it in the courtyard. And finally, as it continued to grow, it was as big as a mountain. Now Yohanan could no longer afford to feed the scorpion, for his inheritance had dwindled to nothing. And he went before the scorpion and prayed, "My Lord, you know that I have given everything I had to honor my father's wish. Now I have nothing, and my wife and my children are hungry. Please nourish us and tell me, what is the nature of the scorpion I have raised, and what will be its end?" And the scorpion replied, "God has heard your prayer and given me permission to reply. I know that you have done everything you can for me, and you are well deserving of a reward. Tell me, what would you like?" And Yohanan thought carefully and said, "Teach me the languages of the world." And so the scorpion wrote on a slip of paper the name of God for Yohanan to swallow. And in that way, he learned not only the languages of men, but those of the birds and beasts as well. Then the scorpion turned to Yohanan's wife and said, "You too have been good to me. Name your reward." And she said, "My Lord, give us wealth great enough so that my husband and I and our children will be provided for all the days of our lives." And the scorpion said, "Follow me and bring wagons and horses and donkeys." He led them to a forest called Eli, and when they were deep in the forest, he whistled, and a pair of every kind of animal in the world came, along with snakes and scorpions and birds of every kind. Each pair brought a gift of gold or silver or precious stones and gave them to Yohanan and his wife. And the scorpion said, "Fill your bags with them and pile your bags on the wagons." And this is what they did. Yohanan went to the scorpion and said, "I don't know how I will ever thank you." And the scorpion said, "Do not thank me, but thank the Lord, for it is at his will that I serve." And so Yohanan said, "If that is the case, please bless me." So the scorpion said, "May God deliver you from the evils which are about to come upon you." Now this was not the blessing that Yohanan had expected to hear, and he asked the scorpion for its meaning, but the scorpion would not say, and took his leave of them. And so Yohanan and his wife returned home. It so happened that the kingdom in which Yohanan lived was ruled by a king who was unmarried. For many years, his minister had urged him to take a wife so that he would have an heir to succeed him, but he'd always turned them down. Finally, he agreed to consider the matter seriously and told them he would give them a reply in 3 days' time. On the second day, as he sat in his courtyard, deep in thought, a raven flew above and released from its beak a beautiful golden hair which fell at his feet. He picked it up and looked at it, amazed by its beauty. On the third day, he went to his ministers and said, "If you want me to take a wife, find me the woman to whom this hair belongs, and I will marry her. But if you do not, I will cut off your heads." Now, the ministers were very alarmed by this ultimatum, and they asked the king for 3 days to decide what to do, and the king granted that. And on the third day, the ministers went before the king and said they knew of only one man in all the kingdom who could undertake this quest, and that was the Jew, Yohanan, who was wise in all the languages of the world, and so the king sent for him. That same day, Yohanan was sitting in his garden when a bird flew overhead and cried out, "May God deliver you from the evils which are about to come upon you." And because Yohanan understood the language of the birds, he knew what it was saying, and he grew afraid, for he remembered the warning of the scorpion. Just then, the king's messenger appeared and said, "Yohanan, come with me at once, for the king has sent for you." So Yohanan went with the messenger to the palace and was brought before the king, who said, "I hear that you are very wise and well-versed in the languages of the world. It is my wish to be married so that I will have an heir to succeed me. Therefore, I command you to find the woman to whom this hair belongs, for she is destined to be my wife." Yohanan could not believe what he was hearing and told the king it was impossible. And the king said in a cold, cruel voice, "If you do not bring her to me, I will have your head and the heads of your people." And so Yohanan reluctantly agreed, but said, "Give me 3 years' time to find her and bring her back." And the king agreed. And so Yohanan left the palace with a strand of golden hair. He went home to make provisions for the journey, 3 loaves of bread and 10 pieces of gold. He told his family he would first go to the forest Eli, for it was there he last saw the scorpion. Perhaps he could find him again and seek his advice. It took him a week to reach the forest, and when he arrived, he began to search it, and he came across an immense dog crying and howling. And Yohanan asked what was wrong, and the dog said, "God has created me to be so large that I cannot satisfy my hunger." And Yohanan said, "God did not create you to starve to death, for his mercy extends to all creatures. Here, take one of my loaves of bread and eat." And this the dog did. And then it said, "May God deliver you from the evils which are about to come upon you, and may God grant me the opportunity to reward you for the kindness you have shown to me." Yohanan went deeper into the forest and came across a giant raven who was crying in hunger exactly as had the dog. And Yohanan gave the raven a loaf of bread, and the raven gave the same blessing as had the dog. Finally, Yohanan came to a river, and he sat down to eat his final loaf of bread and drink some water. And a fisherman nearby said, "Would you like to buy the fish I just caught?" And Yohanan said that he would. So the fisherman told him, "It will cost you 10 pieces of gold." So Yohanan gave the fisherman his gold, and the fisherman raised his net out of the water and opened it to reveal a large and beautiful fish. Yohanan picked it up, and the fish said to him, "My lord, you know that I am too heavy to carry, and you could only eat a small part of me. Do what is right and throw me back in the water, and one day I will reward you for your kindness." And this is what Yohanan did, along with the rest of his bread, much to the amazement of the fisherman. Now, on the other side of that river, there was a town, and there were 2 women sitting not far from the riverbank. One of them was the princess of that kingdom, the most beautiful woman in all the realm, and the other was her handmaid. And the princess said to her handmaid, "Do you see that poor man on the other side of the river? He is looking for a woman with golden hair. And who is it he is seeking? It is I, for the hair he carries is my own. But the king he wishes me to marry is an evil one, and I do not care to be his wife. Therefore, I will give him 3 tasks he must accomplish for me, difficult tasks, impossible ones. And if he does not succeed, he will return to his king empty-handed. She sent her boatman across the river to bring Yohanan back, and when he saw her, he was speechless, for her beauty exceeded that of any woman he had ever seen. She asked him, "Where are you coming from, and where are you going?" And he said, "I come from a land far away, and I am seeking the woman to whom this hair belongs." And he showed her the hair. And she said, "I am the very woman you are seeking. Know that I will go with you and marry your king, but first you must accomplish 3 tasks for me. And if you succeed, I will go with you, and if you do not, you will return alone." For the first task, she handed him a pitcher and said, "You must fill it with the waters of Gehenna." And Yohanan, he wept and said, "Who can do such a thing?" But he took the pitcher. He had no choice. He crossed the river back to the forest Eli and sat down beneath a tree to weep bitterly over his fate. And the raven he had helped was perched on the branch above him. And Yohanan told the raven of the princess's demand, and the raven said, "Put the pitcher around my neck." And this Yohanan did, and then the raven flew to the river of Gehenna, which is boiling hot, and filled the pitcher, though the water burned it badly. He was barely able to return to Yohanan, give him the pitcher, which he in turn brought to the princess, and she acknowledged he had completed the first task. Then she gave him another pitcher and said, "You must fill it with the sacred waters from the Garden of Eden." And Yohanan wept again and said, "Is not the way to the garden closed to mortals?" But he took the pitcher and went on his second quest. He crossed the river again back to the forest Eli to sit down beneath the same tree and weep bitterly over his fate. And the raven that had helped him still perched on the branch above, and Yohanan told the raven of the princess's demand, and the raven said, "If I could fly to the Garden of Eden, I would gladly do so, but I cannot, for my feathers are badly singed." Just then, the dog that Yohanan had helped appeared and asked, "Why are you crying?" And Yohanan explained the princess's demand to the dog and the raven's inability to fly, and the dog said, "Let the bird climb up on my back, and I will carry it to the Garden of Eden." So Yohanan put the pitcher around the bird's neck, it got up on the back of the dog, and off they went. And when they reached the Garden of Eden, the bird sailed over the walls to one of the 4 sacred rivers that flow from the Tree of Life. As it filled the pitcher, a few drops of water splashed on it, healing its burns immediately. Bird and dog returned to Yohanan, and they gave him the pitcher, which he brought to the princess, and she acknowledged he had completed the second task, and then she quickly assigned him the third. She said, 25 years ago, I inherited my father's ring, which bore a stone the like of which the world has never seen. As I walked by the river, the ring slipped from my finger and fell into the water. You must find it and bring it back to me." And Yohanan could not believe this. He went to the river to search it, sat down by the riverbank and wept once more. And the fish he had helped appeared and asked him, "Why are you weeping?" And Yohanan told the fish of the ring he needed to find, and the fish said, "I know that ring, for I saw the fish that swallowed it so long ago. As a reward for your kindness, I will find it, and I will bring it back to you." And the fish swam off, only to soon return, and it spat the ring upon the shore. And Yohanan picked it up and brought it to the princess, who wept tears of joy and said, "I will go with you to your king, for you have surely earned the right." It was a long journey back to the palace, and when they arrived, the king was overwhelmed by her beauty and wanted to wed at once. And the princess said, "In my country, it is not customary to marry at once. Let us wait until 12 months. And this angered the king. He reluctantly agreed. During that time, a war broke out, and there were many civilian casualties, including the wife of Yohanan. And he sought to avenge her death, and he was slain in battle. When word of this reached the princess, she insisted on going to the place where his body had been taken, and the king went with her, for he could not bear to let her out of his sight. When she reached Yohanan's body, she sprinkled water from the Garden of Eden upon it, and the body began to move, and his eyes opened. And when the king saw this, he was amazed and said, "Now that I know you have this miraculous potion, our army will be indestructible." He was not afraid to fight with his troops on the front line, for he knew the princess could revive him. During an especially fierce battle, the king was cut down, and his soldiers brought his body to the princess to be revived. However, instead of sprinkling the waters from the Garden of Eden, she sprinkled the waters of Gehenna, and his body was turned to ashes which blew away in the wind. And the princess and Yohanan were married, and they ruled the kingdom together. They lived for many years in peace and tranquility and begot sons and daughters. As it is written, "Cast thy bread upon the water, for in time to come thou wilt find it again."
Yasher Koach, Aaron, so lovely to have a storyteller among us. What a blessing. And when I heard you were doing the drush tonight, I was like, yes, I will do. Actually, because it has been a little bit of a rough week, Rabbi Dan said, oh, maybe you want to, I can find somebody else to cover this Shabbat and you come next week. I was like, no. Motivated very much by stories, your storytelling ability. Thank you. We'll carry on with our service on page 586. I used to know all the pages, but I wouldn't even have to look at a piece of paper. But 586 for the Aleinu, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'cho hamonam, va'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. 588. Shehu noteh shamayim ve'oseh haaretz, u'moshev yakaro b'shamayim imhal, u'shchinatu zo begovhei meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efesu lato, kakatu b'torato, ve'adata hayom v'ashevota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim mihimahal, ve'aretz mitachat ein od. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yihye Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Please be seated. We're reading a reading before Kaddish on page 575, if you'd like to follow along. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until, looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey from birth to death to life everlasting. About to read the names of those who have passed in our community in the last 30 days, the Shloshim. Sorry, just... So, and please, when I do read the name of your beloved, if you're here to honor someone, please rise when you hear that name. So in the Shloshim, Brad Kramer, Blair Donner, Jeanette Foxman, Charles Golden, Melanie Callie. I'll be standing for Blair Nuskart, Jerry Ross, Eric Sidney Shipman. And same if, as I read the Yahrzeit observances, please rise if you're here to honor. Esther Averbach, Ed Isidore Becker, Ruth Bohm, Joe Butts, David Kasser, Thomas Cornwell, Isaac DeVries, Helen Diamond, Sylvia Dozar, Joseph Eisenberg, Jonathan Feinberg, Minnie Feiler, Albert Gerber, Ivor Glacier, Louis Glate, Eva Goldberg, Martin Gruenthal, Ernest Huber, Minnie Eisen, Sarah Lee James, Hiram Kath Nelson, Rhoda Klein, Samuel Kravitz, Bonnie Levinson, Frima Leventhal, Sheldon Naiman, Dolphy Newman, Al Rodberg, Sharon Rogowski, Saul Rosenbaum, Edward Rosen, Ida Rudy, Harvey Sheffel, Rose Sonner, Svetlana Sosnova, Merle Stein, Victor Unger, Loyal Van Zant. Is there anyone other, if anyone else is here to say a name that I haven't mentioned, please rise. Thanks. Well, you can rise if you would like to in solidarity with those who are standing, and we'll say together, or you can stand beside those who are saying the prayer for Kaddish, which is on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala v'zman kari v'yimaru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam o'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechamata damiram v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yeshvei tevel v'imru amen. We can remain standing because we are going to turn now to Kiddush. Anybody would like to do the Kiddush? I'm happy to. You want to do it? No? I'd love it. We turn back in the Siddurim for Kiddush is 122. If I'm not mistaken, there it is, 122. We got a taker. Anyone a taker? Where is the Kiddush? Here we go. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי וקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. L'chaim. I actually think it's really funny that every time I've done the Kiddush here, I make sure I'm holding my prayer book. But I've been retired for 2.5 years, and I've been leading Kiddush in my home every Friday night, and I never have a prayer book in my hand, and it's never gone wrong. But there's just this thing about being together. So, hamotzi. I assume there is a challah. Look at that. Ooh, it's a really pretty one. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. I'm going to shake this. I would eat it, but I need to lead you in a final song. So that is hard to do with the challah in my mouth. So let's sing together. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Oseh shalom Yisrael, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for being here. It would have been a real drag if you hadn't come. Thank you for the drash, which was beautiful. We're going outside for Kiddush. That's wonderful. Let's have a little oneg outside. Wow, cool. That's nice. And hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Here we go.